Hi there, I'm Jasco. For today's easy guitar activity guitar lesson, what we're going to do is start to learn a 12-bar blues. What this is going to allow us to do is to take a lot of the short riffs that we've already done and expand them into longer full-length songs. The blues is kind of the center hub of American music. Rock music is stolen from the blues, jazz is stolen from the blues, country music is stolen from the blues. So almost any type of American music that you're going to play, there's going to be some blues influence in there. So even if you don't want to be a blues player per se, it's good to learn a little bit about it because it'll give you a stronger foundation for the other types of music. And it helps you learn a lot of songs easier. Once you understand a 12-bar blues chord progression, then that's going to make learning lots of blues songs easier, but also songs that are related or kind of warped or twisted variants of 12-bar blues. You'll understand the song form a lot quicker and easier once you understand a 12-bar blues. 12-bar blues, 12 bars means it's 12 bars long or 12 measures long. And what's a measure? Well, in most music that we listen to, most pop, rock, funk, jazz, blues, most of that stuff is going to be in 4/4 time, meaning that there's the timing is grouped into groups of 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's what a measure or a bar is. And most of those groups of 4 beats are also going to be grouped into 4-bar phrases. That happens very often in music. So with a 12-bar blues, what you have is you have 3 4-bar phrases. We're going to do this by number at first instead of by chord. We're going to call the first chord or place that we start the 1 chord. We're also going to have what we call the 4 chord, and we're going to have the 5 chord. Those will be our 3 chords. Well, what does that mean? It sounds like I'm, talking some foreign language to you possibly if you're starting off. We're going to keep it really simple here. We're going to do 5th fret on the low E string, just 1 note. We're going to call that a chord. It's only 1 note, but it's going to represent a chord. And that's going to represent our 1 chord. Then we're going to move over to 5th fret on the A string. We're going to call that the 4 chord. Then we're going to move to the 7th fret of the A string, and we're going to call that the 5 chord. 1, 4, and 5. And later on, these might be actual chords, or there might be riffs. But for now, we're just going to use 1 note. So in its very simplest form, a 12-bar blues would be these 3 phrases. The first phrase is going to have all 4 bars on the 1 chord. So there's my 1 chord, what we're calling the 1 chord right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 2nd bar, 2, 3, 4. And then 3rd bar, 2, 3, 4. 4th bar, 2, 3, 4. So that's our first phrase out of 3 phrases for a 12-bar blues. Okay, so the second phrase of a 12-bar blues is going to have 2 measures on the 4 chord and 2 measures on the 1 chord. So there's our 4 chord, what we're calling our 4 chord. That's 5th fret on the A string. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 2nd measure, 2, 3, 4, and then we go to our 1 chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we have the 3rd phrase of a 12-bar blues, which is going to be the 5 chord for 1 measure. Remember, the 5 chord is the 7th fret of the A string. Then the 4 chord for 1 measure, 5th fret of the A string. Then the 1 chord for 1 measure, then the 5 chord. So that's going to sound like this. 5 chord, 4 chord, 1 chord, 5 chord. So I'm going to play through the whole thing now just the way that I did it. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1 chord, 4, second measure, 2, 3, 4, third measure, 2, 3, 4, fourth measure, 2, 3, 4. The 4 chord, here's our second phrase. Second measure, back to the 1 chord, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 chord, 2, 3, 4, 4 chord, 2, 3, 4, 1 chord, 2, 3, 4, 5 chord, 2, 3, 4. So you probably just listened to that and said, okay, that sounds as boring as can be. And you're right. But that is the foundation for a 12-bar blues. So let's go back and take the riff that we did a while back. That riff from Tore Down. So we're going to start that on the 1 chord, which in this case we're using the 5th fret on the low E string as the 1 chord. We're also going to play that on the 4 chord. So we'll take that whole riff and just move it over a string. So I'm playing A string, G string, and D string. Still starting on the 5th fret. And then for the 5 chord, we're going to start that on the 7th fret of the A string. So I'll play through this once slowly and then once a little bit quicker. And it's going to follow that same 12-bar format that we just did, but now it's going to almost start to sound like music. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1 chord. Now 4 chord. Back to the 1 chord. 5 chord. 4 chord. There's the 1 chord. And the 5 chord. And I'll end on the 1. So that's almost starting to sound like a song now. 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go, 12-bar blues. So another thing to help you understand blues phrasing and the 12-bar blues more is with the 12-bar blues, I mentioned that it was 3 groups of 4-bar phrases. It comes from the old, the way that blues singers used to phrase lyrics. If you listen to old blues songs, the lyrics are in sets of 3. They'll say one lyric, and then they'll repeat it a second time, then they'll have an answer the 3rd time. So each of those phrases turns out to be a 4-bar phrase. Now if you listen to the old guys do it that are just playing by themselves, they might not play exactly 4 bars. They're just going to sing 3 phrases and change chords when they change vocal phrases. But when you start playing with a band, if everybody doesn't change together at the same time, it doesn't sound very good. So then it's got to be a little more formalized or organized, so you've got an exact number of beats or exact number of measures that you're going to go before everybody changes together. The other thing to realize about this is in typical 12-bar blues, the first phrase is always going to start on the 1 chord. The second phrase always starts on the 4 chord, and the third phrase always starts on the 5 chord. So each phrase is starting on a different chord out of the 3 chords that are used in 12-bar blues. So if you excuse my horrible imitation singing here, if I was going to do a 12-bar blues, maybe my first vocal phrase is, I woke up this morning and didn't get out of bed. Then I'd repeat that. I woke up this morning and didn't get out of bed. Then on the 5 chord, I'd say some kind of hopefully witty answer. I woke up this morning and found out I was actually dead. I woke up this morning and didn't get out of bed. 4 chord. Woke up this morning and didn't get out of bed. 5 chord. Woke up this morning and found out I was really dead. So aside from laughing at the singing and lyrics there, hopefully that lets you understand a little bit more about the 12-bar phrasing and where it comes from, and gives you a view of the 12 bars so you can understand musically what's going on and lyrically what's going on in typical 12-bar blues.